Airlines suspend Venezuela flights. Good afternoon and salam Malaysia Madani. Thanks for tuning in. You're watching World Today. I'm Mohan Priya. Prime Minister Datuk Sri Anwar Ibrahim arrived in Nairobi, Kenya at 5 p.m. local time or 10 p.m. Malaysian time on Sunday for his official visit, the last leg of the three-country African tour. The plane carrying Datuk Sri Anwar and his delegation landed at the State Pavilion Terminal of Jomo Kenyatta International Airport, where he was received by the High Commissioner of Malaysia to Kenya, Rasmi Mohammed, and the Chief of Protocol for Kenya, Severine Luyali. The Prime Minister is accompanied by Investment, Trade and Industry Minister Tengku Datuk Sri Zafrul Tengku Abdul Aziz and Minister in the Prime Minister's Department for Federal Territories, Datuk Sri Dr. Zaliha Mustafa. On Monday, Datuk Sri Anwar will be accorded a state-level welcoming ceremony and will also have a four-eyed meeting with Kenya's President, Dr. William Samoei Ruto. The Prime Minister is also scheduled to deliver a keynote address and officiate the Malaysia-Africa Higher Education Forum in Nairobi and the Malaysia-Kenya High-Level Business Forum. In 2024, Kenya emerged as Malaysia's third-largest trading partner in Africa, with total trade reaching 5.7 billion ringgit, an increase of 1.2% from 5.5 billion in the preceding year. Datuk Sri Anwar is scheduled to depart from Nairobi to Malaysia on Monday evening. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio claims on Sunday he has made good progress in talks discussing a draft U.S. plan to end the war in Ukraine as he met with a Ukrainian delegation in Geneva. Rubio also said that changes would be made to the plan to work towards a solution that both Ukraine and the U.S. were comfortable with.
We have a very good work product that was already built on a foundation of input from all the relative parties involved here, and we were able to go through some of those items now, point by point, and I think we've made good progress. Our teams have now gone to their rooms as we're working on some of the suggestions that were proffered to us. Let's get back to work, and we'll be back.
Rubio also said the U.S. wants a deal done as soon as possible and suggested an agreement with Ukraine could be made in a matter of days. Earlier, talks between U.S. and Ukrainian officials got underway in a stiff atmosphere at the U.S. mission, soon after U.S. President Donald Trump complained in a Truth Social post that Ukraine's leadership had shown zero gratitude to the U.S. for its efforts, and Europe continued to buy Russian oil. And in a related development, talks between the U.S. and Ukrainian officials in Geneva on Sunday to discuss a draft U.S. plan to end the war in Ukraine have so far been productive and even conclusive in some areas. The talks were taking place at the U.S. mission to the United Nations in Geneva in the presence of U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio, U.S. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff, and President Donald Trump's son-in-law Jared Kushner, among others. The Ukrainian and U.S. delegations had detailed discussions about the plan ahead of formal talks aimed at ironing out details of an agreement. Washington and Kiev said Sunday that any eventual deal to halt the war with Russia must fully uphold Ukraine's sovereignty. Kiev was seeking changes to the draft that accepted a range of Russia's hardline demands, with a 28-point plan requiring the invaded country to cede territory, cut its army, and pledge never to join NATO. Both sides pledged to keep working on joint proposals in the coming days. Rubio stressed that any final agreement would have to be agreed upon by the presidents. Hezbollah has confirmed that its top military commander, Haytham Ali Tabatabai, has been killed in an Israeli airstrike on Lebanon's capital. Now, Tabatabai, the chief of staff of the group's armed wing, was among at least 5 people killed in the attack on an apartment block in Dahiyeh in southern Beirut on Sunday. Lebanon's Ministry of Public Health said the Israeli attack also wounded 28 people. In a statement, Hezbollah said the great commander Tabatabai was killed in a treacherous Israeli attack on the Haret Rik area in the southern suburbs of Beirut. Tabatabai is the most senior Hezbollah commander to be killed by Israel since the start of a November 2024 ceasefire aimed at ending over a year of hostilities between the two. Senior Hezbollah official Mahmoud Kamati had earlier said that Israel's strike crossed a red line and that the group's leadership was considering whether it would respond. He warned that the Israeli strike on the southern suburbs opens the door to an escalation of assaults all over Lebanon. Lebanese President Joseph Aoun also called on the international community to intervene firmly to stop the Israeli attacks on the country.
Bersihkan penapis penghawa dingin dan tetapkan 24 darjah Celsius untuk lebih jimat. Guna mentol jimat tenaga untuk lebih jimat.
Welcome back. Seoul Central District Court is set to hear closing arguments in the case against South Korea's former Prime Minister Han Duck-soo on Wednesday, who faces charges of allegedly aiding ex-President Yoon Suk-yeol in an attempted insurrection. Han, who was Prime Minister under Yoon, became acting president after Yoon was impeached. He then resigned from the post to run in a June election to become the next president, but ended his bid following rifts among conservatives. During the first hearing in September, Han said Yoon's imposition of martial law was unacceptable. Han admitted he had falsely stated that he did not receive or see any documents from the presidential office on December 3rd when Yoon declared the martial law, but denied the other charges, one of his lawyers said. A special prosecutor's team investigating Yoon's short-lived order that sparked a political crisis has said Han was the highest-ranking official who could have stopped the president's unconstitutional, illegitimate martial law mandate. Prosecutors are expected to request a sentence during the session on Wednesday. Yoon is also on trial, facing criminal charges of insurrection. He has denied any wrongdoing. 6 international airlines have suspended flights to Venezuela after the United States warned major carriers about a potentially hazardous situation due to heightened military activity around the South American country. Spain's Iberia, Portugal's TAP, Chile's LATAM, Colombia's Avianca, Brazil's GOL and Trinidad and Tobago's Caribbean all halted flights to the country on Saturday. TAP said it was cancelling its flights scheduled for Saturday and Tuesday, while Iberia said it was suspending flights to the Venezuelan capital Caracas until further notice. TAP said the decision was linked to the U.S. notice, which it said indicates that safety conditions in Venezuelan airspace are not guaranteed. However, Panama's Copa Airlines, Spain's Air Europa and Plusutra, Turkish Airlines and Venezuela's Laser are continuing their operations for now. The flight suspensions come as tensions between the U.S. and Venezuela soar, with Washington deploying troops as well as the world's largest aircraft carrier to the Caribbean as part of what it calls an anti-narcotics operation. Caracas, however, describes the operation as a bid to force Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro out of power. Lithuania's Vilnius airport said on Sunday that it had temporarily halted operations due to balloons moving towards its airspace, diverting some incoming flights to other cities. According to the operator, restrictions were lifted around midnight local time on Monday. European aviation has repeatedly been thrown into chaos in recent months by drone sightings and incursions, including at airports in Copenhagen and Brussels. And the Vilnius closure was the Lithuanian capital's 9th shutdown since early October. Lithuania said the disruptions are caused by weather balloons transporting contraband cigarettes from neighboring Belarus and blames Belarus President Alexander Lukashenko for allowing the practice, calling it a form of hybrid attack. Lithuania last month closed both crossing points on its border with Belarus in response to the balloon incidents, but reopened them earlier this week as the air traffic interruptions appeared to have stopped. Lukashenko has called the border closure a crazy scam, accusing the West of fighting a hybrid war against Belarus and Russia, ushering in a new era of barbed wire division. Coming up next, US and Ukraine discuss plan to end Ukrainian war in Geneva.
MyCard bukan sekadar kad pengenalan, tetapi medium utama yang menghubungkan rakyat dengan pelbagai perkhidmatan kerajaan dan swasta. Banyak insentif kerajaan disalurkan melalui MyCard, daripada bantuan kebajikan, kemudahan kesihatan hinggalah pelbagai program rakyat. Inilah keistimewaan yang dimiliki oleh setiap warga negara Malaysia. Sila periksa keadaan MyCard anda. Sekiranya chip rosak, hilang atau MyCard sudah uzur, segera lakukan penggantian di Jabatan Pendaftaran Negara agar hak dan kemudahan anda sentiasa terjamin. Inilah komitmen madani. Dengan dokumen identiti yang sah, moden dan diyakini, rakyat disantuni sebaiknya. MyCard, identiti anda, kebanggaan negara.
The ruling party's presidential hopeful Rasmi closed her campaign on Sunday with a massive rally in Tegucigalpa and a pledge of continuity with the legacy of current President Xiomara Castro. The former defense minister is running for the ruling left-wing Liberty and Refoundation Party Libre. 5 candidates are running for the presidency, with polls highlighting 3 of them: Rasmi for the ruling Libre Party, Salvador Nasrallah for the Liberal Party, and Nasri Asfura for the National Party. Moncada was sworn in as Defence Minister in September 2024, becoming the first woman to head that department. She resigned in May to focus on the campaign. Voters will elect the next president, 128 members of the National Congress, and 20 representatives to the Central American Parliament on November 30th. The Honduran election will take place amid internal and international tensions. Internationally, the poll takes place after Bolivia replaced its left-wing government of almost 20 years, and Chile heads to a runoff in December that could see the conservative right come back to power. Now, the market size of China's low-altitude economy is expected to reach 1.5 trillion yuan, equivalent to about $211 billion in 2025, according to a forecast from the ongoing 2025 China Aviation Industry Conference in Jiangxi Province. Now, the conference in the prefecture-level city Jingdeshan underlined the robust, sustained growth in the low-altitude economy. Behind the rapid expansion is across-the-board progress in low-altitude equipment. Data shows China now has 969 companies registered in the Civil Unmanned Aircraft Product Information System, filing 3,191 types of aircraft, totaling more than 4.78 million units. In 2015, China's homegrown aircraft RX-4E, the world's first four-seat electric aircraft, received a type certification from the Civil Aviation Administration, signaling a breakthrough in new energy aviation technology. Low-altitude logistics in particular is surging, with more than 140 new cargo routes opened and 48 billion instant delivery orders fulfilled in 2024. Industry forecasts say China's drone logistics output could exceed 1 trillion yuan by 2035, with an average annual growth rate of about 20%. BHP Group said on Monday that it is no longer pursuing a potential combination with Anglo American after preliminary discussions with Anglo's board. The company said it still believes a tie-up would have offered strong strategic merits and created value for stakeholders, but added that it remains confident in the strength of its own organic growth strategy. The group attempted a $49 billion takeover of Anglo last year, but the target rejected multiple approaches and BHP eventually withdrew. Khan Peker, analyst with RBC in Sydney, said there is probably a handful of times when assets like this are up for sale, so BHP may as well assess if the option is open. However, he added that it does look a little messy from the BHP side. It was reported on Sunday that BHP had revived its takeover approach for Anglo American just months after the London-listed miner outlined plans to merge with Canada's Teck Resources to form a global copper-focused giant. BHP's apparent reversal comes less than 3 weeks before Anglo and Teck shareholders are due to vote on the more than $60 billion tie-up. A wildfire in Yangyang, Gangwon province was fully contained at around 10:20 a.m. local time on Sunday, South Korean authorities said, after overnight evacuations in the country's northeast. The blaze broke out at around 6:10 p.m. local time on Saturday, prompting South Korea to issue a Level 1 forest fire response alert early Sunday and evacuate hundreds of residents. Authorities deployed 326 personnel overnight to battle the flames and at daybreak mobilized 26 helicopters to help extinguish the fire. Footage from the Korea Forest Service showed flames on a mountainside as firefighters worked to contain the blaze. It was reported that the Korea Forest Service activated Level 1 alerts for fire in the region early on Sunday. Officials said the fire did not spread to nearby residential areas and burned about 22.5 hectares, adding that the cause of the blaze is still under investigation. With the main blaze extinguished, forest authorities are switching to a mop-up posture as they also plan to determine the exact extent of the damage. Still to come in sports, national shuttler duo dominate Indonesian opponents to enter Australian Open final.
Terima jentera moped berbagai kategori terus menggegar dalam perlumbaan motosikal Petronas Malaysia Cup Prix musim 2025. Dengan jiwa kelajuan, nantikan pecutan kemenangan setiap pelumba hanya di RTM.
Moving on to sports, Chen Tangji To Yi-Wei made their final chance count, storming to their first World Tour title of the year in flawless fashion at the Australian Open on Sunday, and they did it without dropping a single game. The world number 4 mixed doubles pair were in complete command in the final, sweeping aside Indonesia's world number 11, Jafar Hidayatullah Felicia Pasaribu, 21-16, 21-11 in just 42 minutes. The win ended their 14-month world tour drought after their near miss at the China Masters in September. The victory earned them $37,525 in prize money. Their clinical showing at the Sydney Olympic Park echoed memories of their historic triumph in Paris in August, when they became Malaysia's first mixed doubles world champions. While a Super 500 title does not match the magnitude of their world title, it finally lifted the weight off their shoulders. Now the pair head into the Thailand Sea Games and the World Tour finals in Hangzhou, China, fueled with confidence. Tangji Yi-Wei will be hoping to finish the season on a high at the prestigious event after finishing runners-up last year to China's Zheng Shiwei Hua Ya Qiong. Italy captured a remarkable third consecutive Davis Cup title on Sunday, with Matteo Berrettini and Flavio Cobolli winning their singles matches for a 2-0 triumph over Spain in the best-of-3 tie in Bologna. Inspired by loud support from the home crowd, Berrettini dispatched Pablo Carreño Busta 6-3, 6-4 in the opening match before Cobolli overcame João Munar 1-6, 7-6, 7-5 to seal the triumph for Filippo Volandri's side. Now, the victory over 6-time winners Spain marked Italy's 4th Davis Cup crown overall, following wins in 1976, 2023 and 2024. Italy also became the first nation to win 3 consecutive Davis Cup titles since the challenge round was abolished following the 1971 event. The second-ranked Yannick Sinner, who led Italy to men's tennis' biggest team trophy the past 2 years, opted out of playing this week, preferring to prepare for next season instead. Number 8-ranked Lorenzo Musetti wasn't playing either. Italy didn't need them, winning all 3 of its matches 2-0 this week in the Super Tennis Arena in Bologna after eliminating Austria in the quarterfinals and Belgium in the semi-finals. And moving on to soccer, Al Nassr continued their perfect start to the 2025-2026 Saudi Pro League season with a spectacular 4-1 win over 6th-placed Al Khalij. It was the Joao Felix and Cristiano Ronaldo show yet again as the Portugal internationals bagged 1 goal each, taking their respective tallies for the season to 10 apiece. It didn't take long for the team called Faris Najat to take their lead after a wonderful cross by Angel fell right at Felix's feet, who found the back of the net with a deft touch. Just minutes later, Wesley doubled the lead with a superb strike. The second half presented an uphill battle for the visitors as they faced the challenge of clawing back from a 2-goal deficit against Saudi Pro League's best defence. Al Khalij made the perfect start in the second half after Murad Al Hassawi struck the ball with all the perfection in the world to halve Al Nassr's lead. However, it was Al Nassr who struck a finishing blow to the visitors. Sadio Mane managed to find the back of Anthony Morris' goal with a lobbed curler to take Al Nassr's lead back to 2. Al Khalij's Dimitrios Kourbelis had a night to forget after his earlier missed chance was followed up by a horrific stamp on Ali Al Hassan, which saw him receive a straight red card. The sending off allowed yet another spectacular goal and possibly the best of the lot as Ronaldo pulled off an ecstatic bicycle kick from Nawaj Bushal's cross to give the host a comfortable 4-1 win. Tadeo Allende scored a second-half brace, Lionel Messi scored and picked up 3 assists, and Inter Miami pulled away to a 4-0 victory over FC Cincinnati in Sunday's Eastern Conference semi-final. Matteo Silvetti, 19, also had a goal and an assist for third-seed Miami, which continues its deepest MLS Cup playoff run in club history by advancing to its first East final. Miami's second consecutive 4-0 playoff win after earning a home victory over Nashville SC in the decisive game of the Round 1 series 2 weeks ago came as manager Javier Mascherano decided not to return striker Luis Suarez to the starting lineup. But Messi and a more youthful Miami front four have appeared to reach another level over the last 180 minutes. Messi has 6 goals and 6 assists this postseason, contributing to every single Miami tally after he scored 29 goals and added 19 assists during what is likely to be a second consecutive MLS MVP winning regular season. On Sunday, he scored his goal in the 19th minute during what was an evenly poised opening to the match. Silvetti doubled Miami's lead in the 57th minute on a sequence that began from a throw-in on the right. Allende added his brace in the 62nd and 74th minutes, both on transition opportunities. Messi took the ball off Evander on the first to create the break and the final through ball on both. Red Bull's Max Verstappen won the Las Vegas Grand Prix and roared back into the Formula One title battle after the shock disqualification of McLaren's championship leader Lando Norris and teammate Oscar Piastri. Norris, who started on pole and finished second, and fourth place Piastri were ruled out for technical reasons linked to the undercar skid planks hours after the race had ended and the podium champagne being sprayed. The development left Britain's Norris 24 points clear of 4 times world champion Verstappen and Australian Piastri, now tied on points with 2 rounds to go in Qatar and Abu Dhabi and 58 points available. Stewards had summoned both McLaren drivers after a post-race FIA inspection found the thickness of the plank assembly was below the permitted minimum. George Russell, last year's winner of the floodlit race and like Norris making his 150th start, moved up to second with teammate Kimi Antonelli taking third. Norris, who finished 20.741 seconds behind Verstappen, can still secure his first title in Qatar next weekend, but Verstappen is now within striking distance again and can sniff the chance of a 5th title in a row. McLaren have already clinched the Constructors' crown for the 2nd year in a row. And that wraps up World Today. In our top story, Datuk Sri Anwar arrives in Nairobi for official visit. Tune in to Malaysia Tonight, coming up at 8:30 p.m. on TV1 and saluran Berita RTM. Till then, I'm Mohana Priya. Salam Malaysia Madani.